Welcome to DXdao governance discussion for Wednesday, December 21st. Happy winter solstice and early Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Let's look at the agenda first here. Yeah, so lighter agenda today after the last couple of weeks have been, I guess, a little bit busy, but as always, we'll do the proposal roundup, some items on Mainnet and also Gnosis chain, and then the discussion items. Just a quick overview of the last month in DXdao, a quick post on providing DXdao liquidity on Swapr for DXD ETH as part of the new DXD token model, and then another discussion on update from the folks at 3AC on the DXD Redemption Implementation, a quick guild budget check-in, and then, yeah, maybe just go over a post I made about a potential new program on DXdao governance stewards there. So let's start first with the proposal roundup. This is on Gnosis chain, so I will switch to Mainnet. Yeah, so on Mainnet, as we have several different DXD buyback orders. So you can see the different times in these. This one's in 4 days, and then we have 5 days, 8, 11 here, and there's also an LUSD one, I think. Yeah, right down here, that'll be another 14 days. So this is in conjunction with what's being done on Gnosis chain, and the big difference here again is using stable coins here, and this has to go through the multi-call 3 scheme. That's why it takes so long there. So yeah, there are 4 buyback orders there. Then there is a DXgov 1.5 contracts audit. So this is the 3rd payment of 3. And so there was an original, this is submitted by Augusto earlier. And I think as a quick summary, there was an original agreement for Omega to do an audit for 30K, and that was split into 3 payments. So this is the 3rd payment of that, but it is actually, in fact, for 20K, because there was another 10K added for an extra review that needed to be done to the audit that was not part of the original scope. So yeah, this is the governance 1.5 contract. So this is, I think, what they call like a refactoring of the existing DXdao governance framework. So it's kind of like rewriting those contracts and upgrading them to be a little bit more leaner and efficient there, but the same overall structure for that. Yeah, so those are there. This is the last payment for that. So Augusto or anyone else have anything to add to this 3rd payment here?
Nope, nothing to add. It's all very explicit there.
Cool. And then there is some things that are all pending boost. If anyone wants to get into a little pending boost here, we have, of course, my favorite proposals, which are updates to ENS. And so this one is for DXdao.eth, the home base of DXdao. This is a small update here. And yeah, I don't know if Keenan wants to say anything from Voice, wants to say anything for here, or anyone can just give it a little boost here.
Yeah. Dave has identified where my young kitten stepped on the keyboard. Yeah, not a massive release. It does just slightly affect a couple things, I believe. Mostly some copy, as well as adjustment of the product section. So you'll see Davi instead of DXgov, which is nice. A couple updates, a couple updated things. Just a little bit of a pass through here for the end of the year. So nothing massive, but a well-needed update.
Cool, thanks. And then there are a couple other pending proposals, or one is, yeah, I said one of the cow swap ones, and then there's also a Millennium contributor proposal for December that is staked on and just needs to be a pending boost, and that will be open for vote for 7 days. You'll notice that's for December because shifting any of the proposals now, please use Mainnet for those. That's where the funds are. You can be expecting a Caney fork December worker proposal sometime probably early next week there. And so there's Melanie, and then there's also I'm actually not seeing it. There is a Milan DX referral proposal, I believe, that was boosted yesterday. Maybe it's not boosted. Sorry. I thought I boosted it.
No, Chris, I think somehow yours seems not up to date.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it is. Okay. So it is. That's a DX referral. So that's, part of the program that is attracting or recruiting other DXdao candidates, getting a reward for that. And I believe it's 3,600, 3,000. Okay. And that's it for Gnosis chain. For Mainnet, switching over to Gnosis chain here. So we have a cow swap order. As I said, this one is for WETH instead of DAI, as you see on Mainnet. And then we have a couple different contributor proposals. Leonardo doing obviously some great work on Swapr. This is for December, coming in right before this Friday. And then there is Bedzik's proposal, aka Brown backpack guy. So he's been doing some work on Swapr, and so this is actually for the last couple months here. As you can see, it's a pre-trial and the trial there, and is also been contributing to Nimi here. But this one, I believe, is mostly for the work he's done on Swapr. And then there is, the last boosted proposal, which we can, there is a Vance contributor proposal here. Vance has been doing some work on Swapr. He just did a presentation yesterday, or maybe it was on Monday, to some Swapr token picker on some things that he had worked on there. And so, this is a payout for 2,800. And then the last proposal to go over on Gnosis chain is the Voice Guild H1 2023 budget proposal, which was just boosted last night, only available for voting for the next 4 days. And you can see here, all you need to know about this proposal is captured in this single image at the top, created by Keenan and Midjourney working together. But there's a lot of things in here. So Keenan, Sky, I don't know if you want to say anything about this. Just a reminder, this is approval for the first half of 2023 budget. There will later be a funding proposal. And as you can see here, this one is covering basically both DX Voice and DX Biz squads, and goes into a lot of the financials that they're proposing over that time, and then also some guild milestones and goals. And I think it's really important, obviously, check out all the financial stuff. And this stuff is kind of see what the impact would be to DXdao. But I think this one has a lot of other ones. I think the milestones and goals and objectives and responsibilities, actually a whole lot of thought went into those, and specific kind of wording on those and the commitments of those. So I think those are going to be good guiding points for going forward. So do check those out and kind of read those when you get a chance. And if you feel so inclined, do vote on it. It'll be it looks like it'll pass or potentially pass right on Christmas. So Keenan, Sky, anyone else from Voice Guild have any additional comments?
It seems like you just had a wave wash over you, or just reading my mind and saying everything I want to say.
It was the image. It's the AI image.
That makes sense. Yeah. I had to work to get that image in, because it doesn't translate directly from DAO Talk to DX Vote, unfortunately. But I think you said it really well. I don't really have anything else to add. We had a couple discussions. There's been a lot of changes to the commitments. We are pretty happy, at least on the DX Voice side, where our commitments are and what we are kind of insinuating. There is also a post to check out. Maybe it was last week that you might have called attention to it. I was missing the governor's call last week. But it's a recap of our operational inefficiencies presentation. So that's also worth checking out to kind of contextualize. But yeah, we're super happy. I'm not sure, Sky, if you have anything to kind of add or chat about from the DXbiz side.
Nope. Also happy.
Okay. Yeah, and Keenan, we did highlight that post last week there. So yeah, any other thoughts on Gnosis chain proposals? Awesome. And then I do just want to make a note that there was a proposal we missed on Mainnet. I can see here in the chat that there was a proposal from Nathan for a vested DXD claim. He'd reached out, I think, to myself, and I know maybe Ali too, to check on that there. And also, a friendly reminder that there is a new security bot for monitoring all mainnet and Gnosis Gnosis chain proposals. It's a courtesy of Dave. It's in the security channel on Keybase. Really nice way of kind of making sure going over everything very quickly in the morning that you get right there in Keybase there. So yeah, make sure and check that out. And I believe Dave is taking requests for emojis that can be inserted into the security bot report. Yeah. And so that's it for the proposal roundup. Yeah. Adam, I don't believe that proposal is boosted, but that is another proposal that has been submitted.
Yeah, I think it's just important that DXvote starts using the scheme so people don't get their funds stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's talking about deregistering the old, because remember we installed the new contribution reward scheme that disallowed submitting proposals with more than one redemption period. And yeah, so the new proposal is now installed, and there will be a proposal that will boost and need to pass for 16 days that would deinstall the old proposal, the old scheme, which is what everyone is using right now and what we're looking at on DXvote. Yeah, as Dave says, I don't believe the new scheme is tracked in DXvote currently. That's why it's important to have redundancy and other ways of tracking things. So that's why it's good to see the security bot. Great. And then just kind of touching on some discussion items here. Yeah, I made a post earlier this week on this month in DXdao, just as a roundup of things in DXdao land. The Treasury endowment post was actually at the beginning of the month, so that was a pretty big thing that people remember we talked about on here. Karparky ended up winning, and you can see some information about that and what they're proposing to do. I think the other takeaway maybe from it is I liked ranked choice voting as a way of expressing signal, but it was very hard to see actually kind of who was winning and to track the vote. I'm not sure if that's worthwhile. But yeah, check out any of the other Treasury updates. The other thing in ENS land was they had steward nominations that completed just at the end of last week. So these are the 3 working groups that kind of guide the DAO. And so each of the working groups has 3 stewards that are elected from there. And yeah, some interesting politicking going on in the DAO land, but yeah, have a look at those if you're interested in. And then yeah, the name wrapper audit review. The name wrapper is kind of a long-awaited basically upgrade for ENS that would help with transferability there, and it's kind of always been going through another audit for like the last several years there. So it is similarly just waiting to be finalized. And then yeah, some other interesting links here. I can maybe recommend the ENS Town Hall Q4 2022. It's a really great video. They do this every quarter, just going over a bunch of different things and projects and presentations. And yeah, so yeah, anything for the ENS, yeah, check out there. Cool. And then next item to talk a little bit about is provision liquidity on DXD WETH on Swapr mainnet. This was posted just made an hour ago, so just wanted to kind of give some background on it and then leave it up to comment from the community. So this would be the first step in providing a DXdao owned liquidity on Swapr for DXD ETH. This is part of the new DXD token model. One of the measures on there did approve DXdao liquidity to be used for that, actually up to $1 million of that. So this would be kind of a plan for doing that on mainnet through the Swapr liquidity relayer. That's what facilitates the trades through that. And so it's proposing basically to do this, you actually need to send the funds to the liquidity relayer through one proposal. And then you need to have separate proposals that are actually like programming the orders for those deposits into Swapr, because they need to check the on-chain oracle to ensure that they're depositing at the right market price. Yeah, what we would end up doing is we would have this one proposal that would send maybe 130 ETH and 300 DXD. This is about like, I think about $325,000 right now. So we would send that to the Swapr liquidity relayer. Got to put the link is, the address is here, but we would send that one proposal from the contribution reward scheme, and then we would have these 3 separate proposals that could gradually increase the size of the Swapr liquidity pool. So there is some risk of, when you're providing like liquidity or you're doing this liquidity deposit, that someone could manipulate the oracle, which is just the Swapr DXD ETH pool. They could manipulate it in order to get like DXD or ETH at a cheaper price. And you can do that partially because the pool is very, very small. So like if you look on Mainnet, I think it's got 56 ETH in it right now. So this first deposit would be like 45% of the pool. And then we would be able to like gradually increase the amount that we're doing, because then the pool would be, 80 ETH, and this one would be about like, 45% again, and then increase all the way up to 65 ETH. So this would be a way, of giving some extra liquidity to DXD. Kind of a note on how this would affect Treasury NAV, which is very important now in terms of the calculations with the new DXD token model. It doesn't have anything specific to say about protocol owned liquidity in there. It does, as I said, it approves this deposit, or the idea of DXdao providing its own liquidity, but it doesn't actually say how that will apply to Treasury NAV. A lot of projects that do calculate Treasury NAV, I'm thinking of OHM being probably the most the most important. They do not count protocol owned liquidity towards the Treasury amount. That's seen almost as like a service thing. I'm not sure what we want to do in general, but I think if we're, maybe we need to make a long-term bet on that. But I think for the purposes of this proposal, basically the ETH that would be in the DXD ETH LP position would count towards the Treasury NAV, but the DXD in it would not count towards circulating supply. And maybe this is like calculating it a little bit more complicated, but I think that's probably what the community would want in terms of, the ETH still counting towards Treasury NAV, but then the DXD not calculating towards circulating supply. And so, and then I just put kind of some risk and considerations. Of course, like permanent loss would be a risk here. You've actually made money or a small return on DXD ETH over the last year as a Swapr LP, primarily because the fees are a bit higher. There's 0.5% on mainnet, so that could help with impermanent loss. And then, as I said before, there's some concerns on oracle manipulation. There is some possibility that you would have basically some small DXD issuance, right? If the price of DXD went up, then you could see some of this DXD that is provisioning actually go out onto the market. That would be in return for ETH that would be in the Swapr LP. So it would kind of be managed, and the DXD would of course still be backed. So I think that's probably a fair trade-off, but something to note. Okay. And any other kind of thoughts, questions on that? Feel free to leave comment on that. Probably won't move anything this week or next, but wanted to get that out there for discussion. Okay. Next up, 3AC DXD Redemption Implementation. So there's an update from the folks at 3AC here. They've actually published the smart contract specifically, and I guess the the implementation of everything here. So Dave, can you maybe kind of walk us through? It'd kind of be interesting to even walk us through maybe as much of this, maybe Adam could, this contract as possible, but what are the updates that you guys have actually released here?
Do you want to go, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, you can give as you want. If you want to
Okay,
step through the Solidity contract or something. Yeah.
Yes, I think, Chris, I'm going to ask you to step back to the packages. So in the tree, like the Bitcoin tree, you can just click on packages anywhere in the source code.
Where is that?
They have .github.husky packages. That's the folder. We want to go there.
Oh.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so you have like, I believe 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you have like 5 main packages. Everything else like just internal configuration. The main thing is probably the contract. So the contract is going to be deployed on mainnet. This is where people are going to be able to redeem their DXD tokens for a token of their choice. That would be either WETH, ETH, USDC, DAI, depending on how governance feels like. Next, you have, can you go back? I think I'm just going to explain things. I don't think we're going to cover the code unless people want to actually go through the contract itself. And then you have the aggregator. So this is where you have like the first entry point into the Oracle network, which I described in the graph on the DAO Talk post. So the aggregator basically does like an initial calculation for the code. That's basically taking the NAV calculation from Gnosis chain and also the mainnet, considering the DXD contract, the relayers, the LP positions, and almost all of the token that DXdao has access to management to it. Then that is going to give you the NAV calculation. From there, we get the DXD price according to NAV, and then we discount 30%. So you have like 30%, you have this 70% NAV that has been approved on the proposal. Then the aggregator takes this quote and asks the other verifiers. It says, hey, I got this quote. Can you verify it? And then the verifier is going to do the same thing. It would do all the same thing that the aggregator did, and it checks against the aggregator output. If they're the same, they're going to say, here, this is my signature. This quote is valid, and then you can take it. The aggregator goes to the second verifier, and it will do this for all the aggregator or all of the verifiers on the network. So let's say you have 5, it will have to do this 5 times. Yes, and that's why we use blocks, because the aggregator is going to do the initial calculation. It will ask the verifiers, I have the quote at the block X, and the verifiers are going to do the same thing at block X. That's why you're going to get all the same numbers. So last thing, when the aggregator gets enough signatures, and that's usually set in the contract, I believe right now it's 50%. You can find the constant. It says minimum signature threshold. It's in a basis point unit. It's 5,000, and then you divide that by 10,000. You give this 50%. Anyway, and then the aggregator returns the quote. This will be like in a nicely packaged JSON. It has the amount of the DXC the user is going to be taken away from their wallet, the amount of the token they're going to receive, and then some additional information, just like the block time where this quote is calculated. And the user just gonna take the quote to the DXD, not the DXD contract, but the redeemer, and then they would just get back their tokens of their choice. Then the second person comes in. They want to also redeem their DXD token for another token. This time the NAV is going to change because we calculate everything in real time.
Got it. And so just to, so I guess I'm looking at this, the doc you had in the original DAO Talk post here. And so I guess like the key thing is this redeemer contract here, which is, what we're seeing here, that the code we're seeing here, that will have permission to basically spend certain tokens from DXdao's treasury. And we are trusting that it will only ask that it will spend a certain amount based upon the information it's getting kind of from this area here. The Redeemer contract, right, is the key thing around of like, okay, well, what is controlling that? And then, so how is it getting that information? And I'm just kind of saying it out loud to double check that I'm understanding this correctly. So it's getting it, I think, from an aggregator that gives it it verifies that it is providing the right data from a certain number of addresses. And I believe, I guess the Redeemer contract, there is a whitelisted aggregator address that it only accepts orders from. And then there is also a whitelisted address of verifier nodes that when the aggregator is actually sending the information to the Redeemer contract, that in that information is proof of the signatures of a certain number of verifiers, again, that are already whitelisted.
That's true.
Yeah.
They have like a list of addresses on the contract, but on the contract, you can't store like HTTP endpoints because sometimes you might change it. But the idea is that the contract is going to be the main constraint resolution oracle. Basically, it's the only place where even the aggregator itself is restricted by the contract. So the aggregator can't add a verifier that is not registered on the contract. So you have to register on the contract first. Then you request the aggregator, can you add me to your network? Then the aggregator verifies it against the contract. If it's all good, now you have a new verifier on the Oracle list.
And so how do you get added to that net? Is that through the contract?
Well, so the contract has an owner. We can probably just walk you through. There is a method called @signers. And so there are two. One, there is the internal and then the public. Right now we hard coded. So if you go to the line that says @signers, you will find DXdao's address because that's not this one. It's the other one, the public one. Just continue scrolling. Yeah, this one. Yeah, it says if the message sender is not the avatar, it will just revert.
Yeah, but we can make this any address. So probably a multi-sig is preferable. Or I mean, the avatar is fine as well because it can do a multi-core, but then it just takes 16 days to add or remove a signature. But I thought we can also leave it like this. It's also an option. Yeah.
I'm just thinking now that going through it, like the two big points maybe though that you would have some like control or be able to like stop things is on the allowance amounts, right? That would be certain things have to become out of DXdao governance. Those have to be proposals. And then who are the verified or whitelisted or allowed list of, I guess you're calling it verifiers. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Verifier. Yeah. I guess with the DXdao multi-sig or, a multi-chain multi-sig one, like, because I guess if there is something wrong, there's some like malicious, I don't know what could happen. Like theoretically, cutting off the whitelisted verifiers would probably be the easiest way to like stop anything.
Yes. Yeah. But imagine if you have 10 people who are labeled as verifiers. If only one of them decides that this is a wrong quote, they're not going to sign it, and then nobody will be able to redeem.
Yeah, Chris just means removing all signers so the Oracle can redeem.
If there's like a button,
but we can also just add like a pause function which freezes the whole contract. And give the multi-sig power over that. That's also an option.
I'm just more thinking because the allowance that we're talking about, the token allowance, like that's obviously going to come through DXdao, and that's only through 16-day. Like things, and like we have that one, but we can't speed that one. So maybe it does make sense to have like a more nimble, like way, of something else. But interesting. Other questions? I guess there was some like kind of call of being able to run. the green light from DXdao and address to own the redemption contract. This is exactly right. Okay. Can add and remove signers. Whether 3AC should initially run the aggregator node and a validation node. And then, yeah, those are so I feel like we're still feeling pretty good about this. I think we're kind of moving forward. Maybe this is a discussion we were just having on who would actually own the redemption contract. Yeah, and then these other ones are kind of out there too. But yeah, I mean, I think it's important. Like, this is an important thing, and I really think it's a really cool kind of system that's doing. But I don't think we are in such a rush, and this is partly why you also do have the like DXD buyback still ongoing. So you are providing like DXD like purchase amounts. You're technically, I mean, I think DXD now is trading at like 68% of NAV, right? So it's almost at 70%. I don't think that's like a great long-term way to do it, but yeah, I think we want to make sure that we get this right and encourage others to think about some of the risks or potential ways that we would want to have DXdao to be able to govern this. Cool. Yeah. Moving along. Yeah. Next up is just a guild budget check-in. So just as a kind of a brief update, we've had the Operations Guild and the DXgov Guild budget proposals have both passed and approved on Gnosis chain. As we just discussed earlier in the call, the Voice Guild's budget proposal is now, it's actually not the pre-boosted phase, it's now available for voting. And then we have the Swapr and Carrot budgets that are still open for comments, but have already been presented on calls and kind of, I think, are near final form right now, but still open for that. And yeah, you can check out a compiled DX budget of all the guilds there. I'll be updating that there. But in terms of like funding and how things will kind of work going forward, I think the current plan is to do a single funding proposal for each of the approved guild budgets. So if you recall, there was like a 3-month amount in each of the budgets there. So that would be like half of the 6 month of regular costs for most guilds. And so that would come through a single funding proposal that would basically have all of the 5 guilds budget amounts. And then that would be bridged to Gnosis chain, where presumably the guilds will be operating it, be it guilds themselves or any type of like multi-sig formation there. And then that's actually where contributors will end up getting paid through the guild proposals themselves. So you can see kind of a little bit of a schedule here. Hopefully by the end of the year, we have the Voice, Carrot, and Swapr budgets approved, and then we'll submit a mainnet funding proposal for that. And then that will we'll have the guild contributor proposals, which we'll get to in a second here, that are kind of maybe be posted in the forum by the end of the first week in January, and then having the actual funds deposited by, yeah, maybe like the beginning of the second week in January, and then that's how funds will be distributed to contributors there. And I know Melanie has been working on a document in terms of like contributor proposals through guilds and how that will change things. We were kind of giving some comments on it there. So I don't know, Melanie, if you wanted to maybe mention that, or what are we thinking about how to get through this transition period?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so like, of course, the New Year's quickly like approaching. And of course, that means our transition to guild is almost here. And I've been receiving a lot of questions, just like about what the official transition looks like. How will we be completing our contributor proposals? How do people get paid? And I wanted to let you all know that, like Chris said, I have been working on official documentation for guilds. I've been doing that alongside Ross and members of the Gov team. The documentation will help contributors become, more familiar with Davi and show everyone how to navigate Davi once we're ready. Additionally, I'm personally preparing a forum post that focuses a bit more on the contributor proposal process for guilds. It'll outline the details on, when to post a proposal, what to include, what contributor payments looks like, and it also gives other general guidelines around the recommended contributor proposal process. I am aiming to have that draft proposal in the form within the next few days, so everybody will have a chance to take a look at it before we break for the holidays. But yeah, so like I said, I know that I've been getting a lot of questions about what the proposal process is going to look like, but going to get some documentation out there for everyone to look at and review. And then, of course, anyone can come to me just for any further clarification as we continue to transition. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and the good news is like we have done some of this work already, because like going through these budgets is like a similar idea that what we were doing before. But when we were doing before, it's only been through this like individual, what am I working on lens. But we've just gone through this process of like, well, what is the guild? What is my like larger group collective going through? And so that process I think is very good. And it's a lot easier to think of, okay, well, what am I going to be working on kind of going forward? And it's a little more, yeah, kind of like administrative, I would guess, more of just processing the information of like, well, we know I'm working on this, we know I'm going to have these hours, these are the times I'm going to be off here and there. So anyway, yeah, so that's kind of it. I don't know if there are any other questions or thoughts on the budget process right now. Vinky, I'm just seeing in the chat, Vinky is saying Swapr and Carrot are going to come soon. Or sorry, their proposals will come soon. So you can have any other comments in the forum on that. And I think, oh, yeah, one last item, just kind of like another interesting, or maybe not interesting, but an idea kind of had in terms of the operations guild budget and coming up with that. It was basically how to make sure we're trying to engage rep holders, but just other people in the DXdao community in general in terms of governance participation. And so maybe coming up with a program, this is actually originally part of the governance 2.0 signal proposal, was incentivizing good governance, coming up with a new way of doing that. So yeah, this is kind of a proposed program that would basically set aside like 10K USD and 10K in 1 year vested DXD that would be used to pay rep holders, or those right now it says above 0.5% rep that are engaged in governance. So this would not necessarily be people that are paid to engage with governance, but more those that have maybe moved on to another project. Maybe they have earned their reputation in like a different way. But I think it'd be really great to try to like foster a larger community of governance here. And yeah, so this is an idea for it. We're calling DXdao governance stewards there. And then, yeah, a couple comments, I think, from Colt Boldmove, who's been around for a long time, good in the community, kind of figure out how to get more involved. And then, yeah, something from Wayne there. So if you have any thoughts on that, feel free, yeah, to comment. Awesome. And then the also worth checking out for this week, as Vinky said, the Carrot H1 2023 budget was posted last week and presented on the last product strategy call. We had a DXD trade volume update last week. And then there's also a post from Augusto on governance 2.0 final steps. So do make sure and check those out. Awesome. Well, that's all I had for today. Was there anything else that people wanted to talk about before we close today? Any remembrance or thoughts on this winter solstice day, the shortest day of the year? Awesome. Well, I don't know if home is the right way. I guess, yeah, home, America. But we'll see. Brooklyn. Awesome. Well, thanks, everyone. And if I don't see you before, yeah, have a Merry Christmas. Bye.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas. Bye, guys.
Days.